It's time. The moment is now. Are you ready for the definitive ranking of classic Broadway shows? I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this. Hey friends, if you're new here, my name is Katharine Quinn. I am a 30-something living in New York City and working on Broadway. Last year I worked on How to Dance in Ohio, Shucked, and The Great Gatsby out at Paper Mill Playhouse. This season I am working on The Great Gatsby, among other things, TBD as always. Vlog Family is the first group to know. Let's dive in to today's video. We're gonna rank Broadway shows. I know. You're gonna have feelings about it. I'm gonna have feelings about it. I'm gonna explain my rationale, and it's gonna be great. As always, I live for discourse, so when you disagree with me, leave a comment and let me know what you think. I said it was the definitive answer. This is my definitive answer of what the best classic Broadway shows are. For the purposes of this video, we're gonna say that classic musical theater is a Broadway show that premiered between 1929 and 1959. Okay, and we're gonna do the top 10 only. I may be missing your fave. Are you ready? Hey there! Coming in at number 10, The Pajama Game. I know, we weren't expecting that one. I love The Pajama Game. The Pajama Game is a musical written by George Abbott and Richard Bissell. Music and lyrics by Adler and Ross. This was Bob Fosse's choreographic debut, and a stunner of a debut. Pajama Game gave us Steam Heat. Pajama Game gave us, I don't know, this is probably not a classic to other people, but I love 7.5 cents. Hey there, you with the stars in your eyes. I'm not at all in love. It's just like a classic musical. We have had 3 Broadway revivals. I unfortunately did not see the 2014 revival. If you did, if you liked it, leave a comment down below. If you did and you didn't like it, leave a comment down below. It opened at the St. James. It's a show I grew up watching. It's a movie I grew up watching. I have a sweet spot for it. So number 10 is The Pajama Game. Coming in at number 9, na 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 na, Carousel. Okay, Carousel is a tricky one, right? It was a tricky one. It hasn't aged very well. It was never really okay. Trigger warning, horrendous assault treatment of women, abuse, physical abuse. It's almost impossible to put on now, especially outside of a encores or city center context where it's like a staged concert and we're not actually doing the action. There was a revival. Folks have differing feelings about it. It wasn't my favorite, which isn't to say that there weren't wonderful things about the revival. Joshua Henry is always wonderful. Jesse Mueller is always wonderful, but it didn't stick the landing for me. However, the score, I'm sorry, especially like a staged concert of Carousel is correct, except that it was the dawn of narrative storytelling in dance. This was Agnes de Mille choreography. The ballet is iconic, stunning narrative dance. And I'm just gonna read this, forgive me, straight from the Wikipedia page because this anecdote is everything. The original Broadway production opened at the Majestic Theater on April 19th, 1945. The dress rehearsal the day before had gone badly, always means a good opening night, and everyone was afraid the show would not be well received. One successful last-minute change was to have Agnes de Mille choreograph the pantomime. The movement of the carnival crowd in the pantomime had been entrusted to Mamoulian, and his version was not working. Rogers had injured his back the previous week, and he watched the opening from a stretcher. This is so theater, I can't even. Like, the number of humans that I know who should have been hospitalized during tech but were like, I'm putting up a Broadway show, like, unfortunately is not just one. He watched the opening number from a stretcher propped in a box behind the curtain. Sedated with morphine, he could only see part of the stage. As he could not hear the audience's applause and laughter, he assumed the show was a failure. It was not until friends congratulated him later that evening that he realized that the curtain had been met with wild applause. Bambi Lynn, who played Louise, was so enthusiastically received by the audience during her ballet that she was forced to break character when she next appeared and bow. Richard Rogers' daughter Mary caught sight of her friend Stephen Sondheim, both teenagers then, across several rows. Both had eyes wet with tears. Come on. It gave us If I Loved You. It gave us You'll Never Walk Alone. It's a special show. I always love to have this conversation. How do we treat shows that are inherently problematic but have incredible artistry within them? Do we rewrite them? Do we say this is a time capsule? What is the correct treatment of such things? Moving on to number 8, Kiss Me Kate. Kiss Me Kate is a Broadway musical that premiered in 1948 with music by Cole Porter. Kiss Me Kate gives us Too Darn Hot. Does it have much to do with the rest of the story? No. Is it a fantastic Act 2 opener? Yes. Practically every song in this show is a musical theater canon hit. Another opening of another show, set in rhythm. Why Can't You Behave? So in Love. Tom, Dick, or Harry. Always True to You. I mean, classics. It has also seen numerous revivals. The book of the show is fantastic. There is still, like, again, you know, these musicals from the 40s and 50s. The treatment of women, not always great. The musical centers around a production of The Taming of the Shrew. And actors behave poorly. I have seen this staged incredibly well. I did see the revival, enjoyed. I worked on a regional production. I was just playing keys in the pit, so I can't take credit for anything. But Denis Lambert, who is currently in Spamalot, and my friend Maddie Parks, who is currently in The Tour of Wicked, played Lily and Fred, and they were so good. So it is a very smart book. It is very fun to direct, I would imagine. I would love to direct it just because the book is so like meaty. The music is stunning, and the great music lends itself to great choreography. So number 7 is cue the trombones. The Music Man. Come on, it's a classic. I know folks have all kinds of feelings about this. It is a very, very smart story. It is a very timeless story. It is basically the 2016 election. It's a con artist who comes to town and bamboozles everybody and, you know, falls in love with the sadder but wiser librarian Marion. And it's Meredith Willson. I love it. I think the score is gorgeous. I love Till There Was You. My White Knight's not as much mine, but like Live Your Dreams. I love the opening on the train. We'll throw a little clip in here from the film.
Ever meet a fella by the name of Hill?
Hill.
I mean, it's so. I love The Music Man. I think the love story is truly beautiful. I always appreciate, like, we really leaned into the sadder but wiser girl kind of in general in, I feel like, the 50s and 60s. I guess that type sort of pervades, but not really. I feel like now we have like the bimbo. I guess Katie Heron is like our equivalent of a sadder but wiser girl, maybe. What is a recent example of a sadder but wiser girl leading lady that we have? Because I can't really think of one. Eurydice? Anyway, curious. Let's move along. We're gonna move on to number 6, South Pacific. Another score that's absolutely stunning. Another show that historically has not always had correct representation, but has had incredibly stunning revivals. The Lincoln Center revival, notably. We'll throw a clip up here. Is one of those shows that is just like the most emblematic of the golden era of Broadway. You know, we've had opportunities via revivals and some regional productions even. There's a theater in Texas that used to sort of do what City Center does, which is a 40-piece orchestra with like a staged concert, and they did one of South Pacific, and it's just, the score is just, it's magical. Those Rodgers and Hammerstein scores are magical. This is the musical that gave us Valley High. I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair. I'm in love with a wonderful guy. Some Enchanted Evening, Happy Talk. I mean, so good. Here's a random question for y'all. I grew up on the 90s VHS tapes of the Rodgers and Hammerstein movie musicals, and there was like a reel that would play at the top of all of them. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Like, I watched The Sound of Music 2-parter so many times and started it so many times that I like hear the promo for State Fair, happy, happy, happy talk. Anyone else? Does anyone else know what I'm talking about? Thank you so much. Okay, great. She's a millennial, it's fine. All right. I love South Pacific. I think the score is absolutely stunning. I think it's a beautiful show. All right, let's move on to another Rodgers and Hammerstein. Coming in at number 5, The King and I. I think The King and I ballet is a masterpiece. I think the score is unbelievable. Historically has not always been cast correctly. Recent revival, I did get to see. Oftentimes I can't afford that Lincoln Center ticket, you know what I'm saying? But my God, it was, I mean, Kelly O'Hara, come on. So beautiful. You know what I would love to see though is Donna Murphy. I'm sure if you're nerdy enough to watch this video, you probably know, but in case you don't, the Lincoln Center Library for the Performing Arts has an archive where you can go request to view old archival recordings of Broadway shows and sit in this little room and put in a VHS tape and hear the little whirring sound and have your little headphones in and sit in a room with other people watching musicals, and it's under lock and key and you've got to get permission, but it is a pretty magical, pretty New York experience. For what it's worth, I would love for so much of this to be released to the public. I think that even archivals, especially of a certain age, could afford to be released out into the public. I don't know. I just want to, you know, digital audiences, Broadway. She's passionate about it, okay? All right, fantastic. The King and I, absolutely stunning. Whistle a Happy Tune. We Kiss in a Shadow. This is Jerome Robbins' original choreography that's just spectacular. All right, we're making it into the top 5. We're now down to number 4. Number 4 is When You Meet a Guy, Reach for Stars in the Sky. Guys and Dolls. I love Guys and Dolls. I love Guys and Dolls. I saw the immersive production on the West End. I enjoyed it. I think what they do with hydraulics is fantastic, but boy, I just love the show. Another sadder but wiser girl. Come on, Sarah Brown. Come on, Sarah Brown. Sarah Brown and Adelaide and Nathan and Sky Masterson. It is a fun plot. It is a funny show. The score is fantastic. It is another just like classic golden era musical that I love deeply. I just think it's a wonderful show. I love Guys and Dolls. Let's move on to number 3, My Fair Lady. Come on, it's based on Pygmalion. It is a classic tale, and the score, Lerner and Lowe, is just sumptuous. Another beautiful Lincoln Center revival, which let's take a moment to just appreciate the fact that Lincoln Center has done these massive scale revivals of shows that otherwise we would not see those kinds of revivals on Broadway, you know? Because that's an expensive endeavor. But I'm really grateful that it happens. I'm grateful for Lincoln Center. I am very grateful for City Center Encores, programs like these that allow us to revisit classic Broadway shows with original orchestrations. It's just kind of a miracle, frankly. At any rate, My Fair Lady is a classic for a reason. I absolutely love it. If you see my hand going down here, my dog demands pets. He doesn't care what the top 3 are, but we're now gonna move on to number 2. Number 2, Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain. My dog is not amused. This is often credited as the first proper book musical. Some folks will say that Showboat was the first musical, like not operetta musical, and then that Oklahoma is our first proper book musical. By that we mean the songs forward the plot. It's another classic Rodgers and Hammerstein, another classic Dream Ballet. It gives us classics such as, I'm just gonna read them because there's a lot. Ready? Oh, What a Beautiful Morning, Surrey with a Fringe on Top, Everything's Up to Date in Kansas City, I Can't Say No, Many a New Day, People Will Say We're in Love, Farmer and the Cowman, and Oklahoma. I love All or Nothing too, but that one's not listed as one of the classics. So, it honestly is like a super American musical, for better and worse. I feel strongly that it's always known exactly what it was. One of my frustrations with Woklahoma revival was that, or Sexy Oklahoma, whatever it is that you want to call it, is that folks were like, wow, they really mined for stuff that like no one had ever seen before, but that was always there. They didn't change any of the words. Oklahoma is a very strong show, and it has always looked at itself quite harshly. Maybe not as harshly as Fish, but you know. I love Oklahoma, and it is my number 2 classic musical of all time. Are we ready for number 1? Number 1, scooting in just under the wire at 1959. Westside Story. Westside Story is my number 1 classic Broadway musical. And this is tricky because some of these are like, you know, given the opportunity, I will always watch a production of West Side Story. The Jerome Robbins original choreography is perfect. I thought Justin Peck did a good job with the movie. Jerome Robbins, that choreo is transcendent. It is otherworldly. It is perfect. It's a book by Arthur Lawrence, lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, and music by Leonard Bernstein. The Sharks and the Jets, loosely based on Romeo and Juliet. I think we have all seen a film or a production of it at one point or another. The Dance at the Gym is flawless. The score is at once chock full of integrity and super complicated rhythms and musicality, and also is accessible at the same time. It is audaciously romantic, but also deeply cynical. It is like the ultimate nuance of a musical. It holds so many truths that seemingly are at odds with each other simultaneously. It is gray area the musical, and I absolutely love it. West Side Story is my number 1 classic Broadway musical of all time. All right, friends, that's it for this video. I know you have feelings about it. I want to hear what your feelings are. Leave your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, giving me a thumbs up, hitting that like button, clicking subscribe, and making sure that you hit that bell so that you don't miss a thing is the surest way to let the YouTube algorithm know what wonderful humans like yourself, to push this video out to. As always, I invite you to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at @It's Katharine Quinn. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.